Hey everybody, Nathan Hale here. I don't have a historical story for you today. What I do have is a new book alert. As some of you know, I work on a lot of different books, not just the Hazardous Tales books, but I sometimes end up putting stories into anthologies. Anthology is a collection of a whole bunch of short stories that go into a big collection of books. The book I want to talk about today is a brand new anthology, fresh out this week, called Been There, Done That. Before I get to that, though, some of you might not know about the story I did for Guys Read True Stories. This is a cool anthology, especially if you like history and nonfiction. Everything in it is a true story, including mine. Let me give you a quick update on what happens in that book. So this right here is Guys Read True Stories with a really cool cover illustration by Caldecott winning illustrator Brian Floca. Very cool cover illustration right there. My story in this book is a Hazardous Tales graphic novel. So it's got the hangman, it's got everybody. It's just like a regular Hazardous Tales, but it's just a short story. This story, one of my favorites from history. It's about this mountain man named Hugh Glass. And he has the worst day ever when he runs into a big, angry bear. The name of that story is Dead Man Crawling. I'll let you figure out what happens next in that story, or better yet, check out Guys Read True Stories, edited by John Sheska. If you haven't seen the Guys Read books, they're super cool, all kinds of great stories. Check that book out. I'll give you a little sneak preview out if you haven't seen this book before. See, here's the hangman in here, right down there. There's Nathan Hale. Great little story. Crazy thing about this Hugh Glass story, they're turning it into a movie. Not my story. The story based on the real Hugh Glass legend that's going to be coming out this next month, called The Revenant. And Hugh Glass, this mountain man, is going to be played by Leonardo DiCaprio, of all crazy people. Probably going to have a big fat R rating and not really for kids, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. So check out Guys Read True Stories for this cool Hazardous Tales story. But let's talk about the book that came out this week. Just came out Tuesday. It's called Been There, Done That. The cool thing about this anthology is every author who participated in it did two stories. You do a true story from your life, and then you do a fictional story based on the true experience you had. So we've got all kinds of cool authors in here. We've got Jane Yolen, Adam Rex, Linda Sue Park, just a Matthew J. Kirby. I mean, there's just Rita Williams Garcia, and of course, me right there, Nathan Hale. It's a really cool book. I've got a copy. It's a nice, big, hefty book. It's gonna be awesome. Now, my story in this book, my true story is called The True Story of the Bunny Head. And then my fictional story is called The Day of the Bunny. See, every one of these authors in here, Gary D. Schmidt, Chris Rylander, Grace Lynn, they wrote a true story from their childhood or their adulthood or anything, just a real thing that happened to them, and then they wrote some fiction based on that true story. So it's really interesting to see what they did in real life and then how that impacted their story. So my story, both of them, are about bunnies and bunny heads, and here's why. So, true story, when I was, I'd say probably about 11 or 12, my siblings were digging around in our basement. Now, we had interesting stuff in our basement because our grandparents ran a community theater. So we had lots of props and lots of costumes and just a lot of like leftover junk from plays sitting around in our basement. So every once in a while, if we got really bored, we'd go down there, open up a box, and see what was in there. We weren't supposed to open up those boxes, but we did anyway. And one time when we were down there, we opened a box and we pulled out the creepiest bunny head you've ever seen. It had these weird, huge eyes. They almost looked like fly eyes or something because it had mesh in there to keep so that it looked like you could see out. I guess at one time these were probably painted like a cartoon bunny's eyes. Its ears were broken. All that was left over were these wires where the ears used to be. I think it probably used to have like floppy Easter bunny ears. And I think it used to be fuzzy, but it was in a fire or something, so all the bunny fuzz burned off of it. It was made out of fiberglass. We took this bunny head and we put it on. I had 3 sisters and 1 brother, and my youngest sister was scared to death of this bunny head. In fact, the threat of us putting on the bunny head made her our slave. We'd say, hey, go do this, or we'll put on the bunny head. Anyway, that is what my first story is about. And then the second story, I take that off in a crazy direction and it gets even goofier. Let me give you a little sneak peek of what some of these other stories look like. So, simple graphic novel stories. This one is not a hazardous tale. This is a true story from my childhood. You can see a little, there's the bunny head. Kind of crazy. Oh, I'm jumping ahead to the other one. So, just goofy stuff we did with that. Oh, good grief. Sorry, guys. Where is it? There we go. With this spooky bunny head. That's the true story. There's my poor little sister being scared out of her mind. The second story is the fantasy, the fiction that's based on this real story. So I made this fictional story, and this is exciting for me because this short story in this anthology is the first fictional fantasy graphic novel that I have written and illustrated. So it's kind of exciting to me. Not graphic novel, but graphic story. So this is a crazy story about some bad kids who terrorize an orphanage with, you guessed it, a bunny head. But this isn't just any bunny head. It gives these bad kids creepy bunny powers. And to find out what happens with these creepy bunny powers, go and check out Been There, Done That. This awesome book. Available now from your library or bookstore. Check it out. Thanks, guys.